I wanted to start with the fact that we just heard President Trump yesterday aboard Air Force One give Iran this 10 to 15-day window to agree to some sort of deal or else. What did you make of that new window, and does that actually put pressure on them?
Well, I think President Trump has been very clear from the beginning. When he speaks, he means what he says. And I think this new window is in response to Iran slow rolling the negotiations. And while they're at the table, they have been a bit reluctant to actually agree to a lot of the terms that the U.S. has set out. And so I think President Trump is amplifying that with very clear deadlines and very clear consequences articulated if they don't actually agree to these terms.
And in your eyes, should that be the last window that he gives? If they don't come up with a deal by day 15, is it time to take action at that point?
I think at this point in time, it's been very clear that President Trump has prioritized diplomacy and diplomacy first. Over the past few months since Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran has continued to slow roll negotiations. It's been ongoing for months. The deal terms are not that complicated, and it's just a matter of whether or not they're willing to accept them. And I think at this point in time, those deadlines are very clear, and they should be the last ones.
The Wall Street Journal is now reporting that President Trump is weighing an initial limited strike against Iran to force it to make a nuclear deal. If the White House does, in fact, decide to attack, Justin, does it need to go beyond limited?
Well, the president, of course, is weighing all of his options, and the War Department is, of course, presenting those to him, both limited and more comprehensive. But at this point in time, prioritizing, American lives is definitely the top priority. But of course, limited responses first, and if necessary, escalation can always come into play. But I think a lot can be achieved even with limited responses.
Your former boss, War Secretary Pete Hegseth, will also play a huge role in this Iran decision, of course. What's more of the end game for him in the White House? Is it a toppled regime, or is it eradicating the nuclear program? Like, would Trump be okay with the Ayatollah as long as he didn't have an arsenal of nukes at his disposal?
I think President Trump has been extremely clear. There's two main issues at play here. One is Iran's nuclear program, which needs to stop, and he's articulated that. And then, of course, stopping the killing of its own citizens, which is a massive issue there. And President Trump has made those terms very clear.
Talk about the risk of this just, in regards to our troops who are now stationed across the region.
Well, the War Department has mobilized a very significant military force in the region to prepare for any possible contingencies that may occur. And anytime a military conflict or any sort of kinetic action occurs, American lives could be at risk, even in limited strikes. Iran does have retaliatory capabilities, and so that's always something to keep in mind, especially with U.S. military assets in the region.
We'll see what comes to pass this weekend. But Justin Fulcher, thank you so much for your time and your insights this morning.